All right, Game of Thrones fans, Andrew Dowd here in the final episode breakdown of the wonderful story that is and was Game of Thrones from HBO. So, as you can tell from the video I posted beforehand of our Game of Thrones viewing party, the folks that I watch almost every Sunday night with, they provided their predictions. I provided my predictions, and we're sort of right, but mostly wrong. The fact of the matter is, what did I think of this whole episode, this finale? I was left a little bit wanting. I have taken the time to rewatch it and process the whole episode. And although it didn't go the way that I had hoped it would go, I can't be upset about the finality of it. But I'll get into that a little bit more later. So, breakdown of the episode. King's Landing is in ashes, and as the victors, Tyrion and Jon Davos, walk the streets, it is clear that Daenerys has lost it. And, even when she addresses the Unsullied and the Dothraki, thanking them for their fulfilling their promises, it only proves that, she is not done yet, and more death is coming under the tyranny of Daenerys. But I love that the message is all about liberation. It starts with revenge and promise fulfillment with the Dothraki, but then it quickly goes to the message of liberation, and we are liberating, the peoples of the world, which I found quite akin to a lot of U.S. foreign policy, saying, we're fighting for the liberation of peoples. And it's amazing, the political messages, from wars of the past being all about, the liberation of people, we're helping liberate people, when reality is, the meaning of liberation in their minds is we want control. So I thought that was an interesting play on words by Daenerys, but really it just solidified, her desire to have everyone under her thumb, because she felt that it is her destiny. So Daenerys going crazy, and I know that it's a real bad spot for a lot of Daenerys fans, because her whole story arc was about being the hero of the people, and taking down the structure, but in the end her actually becoming her own worst villain, or the show's one of the show's worst villains, because she killed probably more people than, I would say, even borderline the White Walkers. So what does it all mean? What does it all mean? Moving on through that, Tyrion's resignation, I thought was fantastic, and highlighting that you have to do the right thing. Really, in the face of Jon trying to force his hand to do the right thing as well, and we all know that Jon will forever pick duty over love. It's exactly the things that him and Meister Aemon at the Wall discussed. It's exactly what Ned would do, with the exception of that's why Ned got his head cut off, is that, in order to save his family out of love, he had to say that Joffrey was the true king. But you got to thank God for it, because Joffrey was a complete nut job. But I like how the whole beginning of this, even with Arya walking up behind Jon and conveying, hey, that's a killer, that one. I know a look of a killer. it just is all driving Jon to do what he needs to do. And by the way, spoiler alerts, we all know, well, we should know by now what's going to happen. So I'm going to be talking about the ending. And so if you haven't seen it, stop. You shouldn't be watching this anyway, but I had to get that out there. There's a couple of things that irked me about the episode in particular, was that it's clear Jon knew what he needed to do. Even the conversation with Tyrion, where Tyrion's just egging him on to do it, in no uncertain terms. And Jon, says, "I won't make excuses." Then he does make excuses or tries to justify what Daenerys did, but he cannot ignore the reality of what she did. And it kind of befuddled me that it took him that long to realize it. But blinded by love, men do stupid things in love. That seems to be a great theme of this. And in order to actually do the right thing, you must ignore love. So in the end, of course, it's Jon that takes Dany. I thought Dany was for sure going to kill Jon. I had no expectation that Jon Snow was going to survive the entire series. Am I glad he did? Yeah. But all my predictions included Jon Snow dying in some way or form. So I was way wrong on that. That's on me. Maybe the books will be a bit different. However, so Jon ends the tyranny. And this is the thing that kind of upset me about it, was that Drogon immediately knows something's wrong, because a dragon rider and a dragon have a very tight bond, and they feel the emotions of the other, and so immediately something goes wrong and Drogon shows up. And the thing that kind of ticked me off is, although there's some theories that because Jon's a Targaryen, and I thought this too, that Dragonfire won't kill him. But that's not true, because in the battles of Valyria, when it was the houses of Valyria were fighting each other, it was dragon on dragon. Dragons were killing other dragon riders by Dragonfire. So I'm not so sure that's true. But the reason he didn't burn Jon or try to kill Jon, eat him, even, was, I think they were trying to say that Drogon knew that Daenerys had lost it, but he's a dragon. And so is Daenerys. The dragons burn and survive. That's what they do. So I thought it was a little bit questionable that Drogon didn't torch Jon. But am I glad they torched the Iron Throne? Yes and no. I think it would have been great if they kept this series kind of open to it. But, the fact that the throne was forged by Dragonfire and melted by Dragonfire, I thought was kind of poetic. And it is the one thing that Daenerys wanted and desired the most that drove her to this end. And that's why Drogon did what he did. So, the other big question is, where does Drogon take Daenerys? Does he take her back to Essos? Does he take her to Valyria? Does he take her to the place where he was born and Khal Drogo was cremated on the pyre? I think there's a lot of questions. Those questions, aren't going to be addressed, but it kind of leaves a little open-ended there. So where did Drogon go? Who knows? We'll find out. So the other thing I didn't like about it is, Grey Worm in this episode, killing surrendered Lannisters, killing every enemy of Daenerys, and yet, although they captured Jon, they didn't kill Jon. I am shocked by this. I am shocked that Grey Worm just didn't outright kill him. They imprisoned him. And that's something that I think was a little weak. I guess, then they decided that Jon would kill Daenerys and Jon would live, that they have to keep him keep him going. So I feel like maybe there's a little bit of lazy writing in that. What does it all like? And the other, okay, and then bringing it to Tyrion being brought to the dragon pit for all the lords and ladies of Westeros to decide the future of Westeros in entirety. I thought that scene was poorly done, poorly written, because why the heck would they be bringing a prisoner to take advice and lead the conversation on the future of Westeros? It doesn't make sense. He's captured. He was treasonous. He's in prison. Oh, we should ask this guy, what to do because we don't know what to do. And maybe it's just because they think he's the most clever man in Westeros. I think that was that's been sort of proven outright that he's not the most clever throughout the last season, and he does have flaws. So why would they go to him? I don't know. I think it's a little. It just irked me. It irked me that Tyrion would be able to dictate to them what should happen. Although I did have a good laugh when Sam suggested democracy, and they all just laughed it off and thought it was ridiculous. Plus, I feel like it was that whole scene was sort of put in there for a little bit of added comic relief. With Ed Muir and then Sansa telling him to sit down. It was quite funny, but this show isn't supposed to be funny. I mean, there's a couple comments here or there, but it's not supposed to be funny. This is a drama. This is a bittersweet type of show, and so I thought it was a stupid scene in my opinion. And then they calling out Bran the Broken as the new king of Westeros, and Sansa dictates the northern independence. Much of the thing I feel like Yara missed her chance there. So I think that it was all too neat. It was all too neat. The whole ending, it was fanfare. It was lip service to try and tie everything up to a nice, neat little bow. And the show was over. No other loose ends are there. Everyone's happy. The Starks are happy, and Tyrion is the hand and essentially the ruler of Westeros, which is why I said I was sort of correct in my prediction of Tyrion becoming the new king, or at least the new power, because Bran clearly has no desire to be the king or rule, so to speak. He's going to go off and look for the dragon. And so leaving Tyrion and the rest of the small council to rule the kingdoms. So I was left wanting for one major reason, is that, and maybe it's a folly of being used to one thing through this show, is that the show is based on and has its fan base because of the twists, the drama, the cliffhangers at almost every other episode provides. And I got so used to that I feel like it should have ended with a twist, with a cliffhanger, with an open-ended what if, a Tony Soprano cut to black type of ending. Where the game continues, and in some senses, I think maybe there is some leniency for the game to continue. Sansa being the Queen of the North, Arya going off into the undiscovered lands or undiscovered Western Sea. By the way, it was going to be a sweet spin-off show, I think. It left me wanting something. Although I can't entirely complain about the ending. It was nice seeing everyone sort of fall into place. I don't think Bran should have been king, but he says, "Why do you think I came down all this way?" He said before he never wants to be lord of anything, or he can't be lord of anything because he's the three-eyed raven. So some of that didn't make sense to me. But justice for the Stark house. Totally. Jon is king north of the wall. I don't care what anyone says. He is king north of the wall and can live freely, much like Mance Rayder described when he first showed up. And it's where Jon belongs. Jon belongs in the north. He has the support of everyone north of the wall, of the Free Folk, but as well as everyone in North and Winterfell. And he can live free. I thought that was nice. The best part of the episode, in my opinion, was when GoT showed up and he finally gets his ear scratched from Jon. Finally, they at least covered that off. So, where does that leave us? That leaves us with Sansa's Queen of the North, Arya, the Buccaneer, if you will, of the Western Seas. Yes, Jon north of the wall, Bran on the throne, Tyrion is the new hand, Bronn is the master of coin, which I thought was somewhat appropriate. Master of ships, Davos, which is very appropriate. Meister, Sam, which we all saw coming. And then, of course, Brienne and Pod on the Night's Guard. I loved Brienne filling out the pages for Jaime Lannister. I thought that was a great stroke. And what she wrote was marvelous. If you have a chance, pause it, read it. It's great. But all in all, was I a little disappointed? Yes. Can I accept the ending? Yes. Do I hope for spin-off extravaganza or prequel stories? Absolutely. And could we potentially see an uprising in Westeros for a future show? Maybe potentially Dorne, or even Yara leading a rebellion against Bran. But him being a green seer and so on, he'll just come off the pass. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. However, if you didn't like this episode, or for whatever reason you had your reservations, I did see this thing online where a fan adjusted the ending to the episode to fit a John Hughes style film ending, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. It was fantastic. So I urge you all to watch it. Look at Game of Thrones John Hughes ending, and you'll see what I mean. It's a good laugh. It'll make you feel good. But that's it, folks. Game of Thrones is over. What am I going to do? I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to start rewatching all of Deadwood and then get on that, watch that movie. I'm actually quite looking forward to it. So maybe I'll do some episodes of that. But for now, that's it. The long night is over. Westeros rolls on, and Bran the Broken is the ruler of the 6 kingdoms. What are you going to do? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed these episodes as much as I've enjoyed talking about them. Even though I'm 99% wrong about every prediction I've ever done, that's what I love about this show. It keeps me on the edge of my seat and keeps me humble. But I'm looking forward to something else that can capture my imagination and my attention as much as Game of Thrones did. So I will see you all another time in the future. Thanks for watching.